In 1930, football saw its first ever World Cup and a surprise that shook the world. Uruguay, a small South American nation with fewer than 3 million people, hosted the event and defied every expectation. The tournament began on July 13th and ended on July 30th, 1930. It featured just 13 teams, many traveling by long sea voyages to reach Montevideo. Most fans expected European powerhouses like Argentina or Yugoslavia to dominate. Uruguay, though proud of its Olympic gold medals from 1924 and 1928, still carried the label of outsiders. This was new ground, the first FIFA World Cup, a fresh test beyond the Olympics. From the start, Uruguay showed determination. Playing at the brand new Estadio Centenario, they used their fast, direct style to overwhelm teams. Their defense stood firm, their forwards sharp and confident. The home crowd roared with every goal, turning every match into a storm of blue flags and belief. Players like José Nesazzi, the captain known as El Gran Mariscal, led with calm authority. In goal, Enrique Ballesteros made crucial saves that kept Uruguay alive in tense moments. The final came on July 30th, 1930. Uruguay faced fierce rivals Argentina, the same team they had beaten for Olympic gold 2 years before. Over 90,000 fans packed the stadium, half cheering, half nervous. Argentina led 2-1 at halftime, and the visitors looked set to spoil the host nation's dream. But Uruguay refused to crumble. In the second half, they stormed back. Goals from José Pedro Sea, Santos Iriarte, and Hector Castro, who famously played with one arm, turned the match around. Final score: Uruguay 4, Argentina 2. When the whistle blew, chaos erupted. Fans flooded the field, flags waved, players cried. Uruguay had done it, the first ever World Cup champions. The country declared a national holiday the next day. Newspapers called it the victory of a nation. Uruguay's triumph mattered far beyond that night. It proved that football was no longer just Europe's game. It showed that skill, unity, and belief could outshine size and reputation. The hosts set a lasting benchmark, the idea that a home team, driven by pride and passion, could rise to greatness. From that moment, the story of every World Cup carried Uruguay's mark: small nation, big heart, and the first to lift the world's most famous trophy. In 1934, the World Cup moved to Italy, and a new underdog story began to unfold. Few expected Czechoslovakia, a young nation in football terms, to challenge the giants. But by the end of the tournament, they had captured global respect. The competition ran from May 27 to June 10, 1934. Unlike Uruguay 4 years earlier, this edition had no group stage. Every game was knockout, one loss, and you were out. Czechoslovakia entered with little fanfare. Teams like Italy, Austria, and Germany were seen as the true contenders. But Czechoslovakia came armed with heart, teamwork, and a goalkeeper named František Planica, whose bravery would become legend. In the quarter-final, they faced Germany, a strong, organized side. Czechoslovakia stunned them with speed and sharp passing, winning 3-1. Suddenly, fans began to take notice. Next came Switzerland in the semi-final. It was a tense, back-and-forth match. Czechoslovakia held their nerve, edging a 3-2 victory and earning a place in the final. For a team that few had predicted to make it past the first round, it felt like a dream. The final in Rome pitted them against the hosts, Italy. The pressure was enormous. Mussolini's government saw victory as a matter of national pride. Czechoslovakia didn't back down. In the second half, Antonín Puc struck a goal that silenced the crowd, 1-0 to Czechoslovakia. But Italy fought back, equalizing late, and in extra time scored again. Final score: Italy 2, Czechoslovakia 1. Even in defeat, the Czechoslovak players walked off as heroes. They had gone toe-to-toe with one of the strongest teams in the world, under the most intense conditions possible. Planica's saves and the team's courage won admiration across Europe. Their journey mattered. It showed that Central Europe could produce football as creative and disciplined as any power. It inspired neighboring countries and laid the groundwork for the Danubian school, a style built on skill and passing rather than power alone. Czechoslovakia may not have lifted the trophy, but in 1934 they lifted belief, proof that spirit and teamwork could carry an underdog to the world stage. In 1938, football returned to Europe, this time in France. The world was tense, politics heavy, and nations uneasy. Yet in the middle of it all, Switzerland, a team few mentioned before kickoff, made headlines across the globe. The World Cup ran from June 4 to June 19, 1938. Powerhouses like Germany, Hungary, and Italy arrived as clear favorites. Switzerland? Most saw them as steady but limited, strong in defense, modest in attack. No one expected drama. But what followed turned quiet confidence into one of the tournament's biggest surprises. Their story began against Germany in the round of 16. It was no ordinary match. The German squad had recently recently been combined with Austria's players after the Anschluss, creating what many thought would be a super team. Switzerland refused to be intimidated. In the first game, the two sides drew 1-1, forcing a replay. In that replay, Germany struck early, taking a 2-0 lead. The Swiss seemed done. Then came the turnaround. Andrea Beglin scored twice, and forward Eugene Walaschek added another. By the end of extra time, Switzerland had shocked everyone, a 4-2 victory. The headlines the next morning called it a miracle in Paris. Their momentum carried them to the quarterfinals, where they battled past another strong opponent to reach the semifinal, a stage few thought possible. There, they met Hungary, one of Europe's finest attacking teams. The Swiss fought hard but couldn't stop Hungary's flow. The match ended 4-2, their dream run finally over. Even in defeat, Switzerland left a lasting mark. They had stood up to the best, beaten a political powerhouse, and proven that tactical discipline and team spirit could topple talent and reputation. For a small nation surrounded by giants, their journey felt symbolic. Football as a story of courage, not just power. Their 1938 campaign showed the world something new. Smaller football nations could dream big and deliver. The Swiss didn't win the cup, but they won respect, the kind that lasts long after the final whistle. On June 29, 1950, in Belo Horizonte, Brazil, football witnessed a miracle few could believe. The United States, a team of part-time players and dreamers, defeated mighty England 1-0 in what became known as the Miracle of Belo Horizonte. England arrived as heavy favorites. They were called the Kings of Football, boasting stars like Stanley Matthews and Tom Finney. The U.S. squad, on the other hand, was made up of men who worked regular jobs: a teacher, a mailman, a dishwasher. Most had never played together for long. On paper, it looked hopeless. Even bookmakers in England gave the Americans 500-1 odds. The match took place at Estadio Independencia before a modest crowd. England attacked from the start, expecting an easy win, but U.S. goalkeeper Frank Borghi made save after save, throwing himself at every shot. The defense held tight, refusing to break. Then, in the 37th minute, came the moment that changed everything. Haitian-born forward Joe Gaetjens lunged for a cross from Walter Barr and deflected it into the net. 1-0 USA. The stadium fell silent. For the next 50 minutes, England tried everything. Shots flew just wide. Crosses were blocked. The Americans, exhausted but fearless, clung to their lead. When the referee finally blew the whistle, the impossible had happened. The United States had beaten England, the birthplace of football itself. News spread slowly in 1950. Many in England assumed it was a printing error, 10-1, not 1-0, but it was real. Reporters called it the greatest upset in World Cup history. Joe Gaetjens became a national hero, though he would fade into mystery years later. The win didn't send the U.S. far in the tournament, but its impact lasted decades. It proved that belief and heart could outplay skill and fame on any given day. It also set the tone for a World Cup full of shocks, from this stunning upset to Brazil's own heartbreak in the final, the Maracanazo, when Uruguay beat the hosts in front of 200,000 fans. The 1950 World Cup reminded the world that football's beauty lies in its uncertainty. A team of underdogs, armed only with courage and unity, can topple legends. And on that June day in Brazil, the United States showed that in football, and maybe in life, no dream is too small, and no opponent too big. In the summer of 1954, football spotlight turned to Switzerland and to a Hungarian team that played like no other. The magical Magyars, as fans called them, dazzled the world with skill, speed, and goals that seemed effortless. Yet, by the end, they would stand as underdogs in one of football's most shocking finales. The tournament ran from June 16 to July 4, 1954. Hungary entered as Olympic champions and unbeaten in 4 years. Led by Ferenc Puskás, Sandor Kocsis, and Nándor Hidegkuti, they looked unstoppable. In the group stage, they crushed West Germany 8-3, a scoreline so wild that many thought the story was over. Hungary were surely destined for the trophy, but football never promises what it seems to. In the knockout rounds, Hungary beat Brazil and then Uruguay, both fierce opponents. Their attacking style was thrilling: quick passing, clever movement, and relentless pressure. Kocsis scored twice against Uruguay in extra time, sending Hungary to the final. The nation back home celebrated early, certain that the title was theirs. On July 4 in Bern, they met West Germany again. It looked like another rout when Puskás scored in the 6th minute, followed by a second Hungarian goal soon after. 2-0, and still early. But this time, West Germany didn't collapse. They fought back hard, tying the game 2-2 before halftime. The rain poured, the pitch turned muddy, and Hungary's smooth rhythm began to fade. In the 84th minute, German forward Helmut Rahn struck the winning goal. Final score: West Germany 3, Hungary 2. The world was stunned. The team that had gone unbeaten in 31 games, the team that had crushed the same opponent weeks before, had lost lost the biggest match of all. For Hungary, it was heartbreak. For football, it was proof that even the best can fall. The 1954 final, later called the Miracle of Bern, reminded everyone that no match is safe, no favorite guaranteed. Hungary didn't lift the trophy, but their legacy changed football forever. Their style inspired generations. Their loss, ironically, became a lesson that greatness isn't only in winning, but in daring to play beautifully even when fate turns against you. In 1958, football came to Scandinavia, and Sweden, the quiet hosts, turned their home tournament into a story of belief. Few thought they could go far, yet by the end, they stood in the World Cup final, face to face with Brazil's rising star, Pelé. The tournament ran from June 8 to June 29, 1958. Sweden entered with discipline and experience, but no one ranked them among the elite. Teams like Brazil, France, and West Germany drew the spotlight. The Swedes had solid players Gunnar Gren, Nils Lidholm, and Kurt Hamrin, but no one called them favorites. That suited them just fine. In the quarter-final, Sweden faced the Soviet Union, a powerful team fresh from Olympic success. The Swedes stayed calm, organized, and precise. Lidholm's leadership shone as they struck twice, winning 2-0. The home crowd erupted. Suddenly, the nation started to believe. Next came the semi-final against West Germany, the defending champions. It was supposed to be Sweden's stop sign. Instead, they played their best football of the tournament. Hamrin's pace on the wing tore the German defense apart, and the hosts won 3-1. The stadium in Gothenburg shook with joy. Sweden, against all odds, were in the final. Their opponent? Brazil, young, electric, and led by a 17-year-old sensation named Pelé. The final in Stockholm drew over 50,000 fans, all hoping for one more miracle. For a brief moment, it looked possible. Lidholm scored early to make it 1-0, and the crowd roared. But Brazil responded with style and speed no one had seen before. Pelé scored twice, Vava added 2 more, and Brazil won 5-2. Sweden had lost, but their journey was unforgettable. They had stood tall against giants and brought their country to its greatest football moment. The players walked off the field to cheers, not silence, heroes in yellow and blue. Their run showed that even hosts without global stars could rise to greatness through unity, courage, and home pride. The 1958 World Cup proved again what football loves most: when the unexpected becomes real. In 1962, the World Cup came to South America again, this time to Chile, a nation rebuilding after a massive earthquake just 2 years earlier. Few expected much from the hosts, yet by the end, Chile stood proudly in third place, their best finish ever, and a symbol of determination against the odds. The tournament ran from May 30th to June 17, 1962. Chile entered as outsiders. They lacked the famous names of Brazil or the power of Italy and Germany, but they had something stronger: unity, passion, and the roar of home crowds in Santiago and Arica. Their journey began with hard-fought wins in the group stage. Chile's defense, led by Sergio Navarro, stayed tough, while Lionel Sanchez became their star in attack. His goals and fearless play inspired the nation. The team's spirit reached its peak in the quarter-finals against the Soviet Union, a tense, physical match. Chile battled through to win 2-1, sending the home fans into a frenzy. That victory set up a semi-final clash with Brazil, the defending champions. Facing Pelé's absence, Brazil still had Garrincha, whose skill was breathtaking. Chile fought bravely but fell 4-2. Even in defeat, their fight earned respect worldwide. Sanchez scored again, refusing to let Chile fade quietly. In the third-place match against Yugoslavia, Chile's determination never wavered. In the final minutes, Iladio Rojas scored the winning goal. The crowd exploded in joy. Chile won, Yugoslavia 0. It was more than just a win, it was a moment of national pride. Chile's third-place finish was remarkable. They had turned tragedy into triumph, hosting a successful World Cup and proving that courage can close the gap between the powerful and the overlooked. The team spirit, discipline, and togetherness captured hearts far beyond South America. That 1962 campaign lifted Chile's name in world football. It showed that when heart meets opportunity, even small nations can make history. The bronze medal wasn't just a reward, it was a symbol of hope for generations of Chilean players to come. In 1966, the football world gathered in England and witnessed one of the most astonishing stories in World Cup history. It came not from Europe or South America, but from Asia. North Korea, a team barely known outside its borders, stunned the planet with courage, heart, and one unforgettable victory. The group stage began quietly. North Korea, making their first World Cup appearance, were expected to finish last. They lost 3-0 to the Soviet Union, but fought hard for a 1-1 draw against Chile. Then came July 19th in Middlesbrough, the night that changed everything. Italy, two-time world champions, walked onto the field as overwhelming favorites. Their lineup was filled with stars from Europe's top leagues. North Korea's players, most of them amateurs, were shorter, less experienced, and and had trained in isolation. Few gave them a chance. But football doesn't follow scripts. In the 42nd minute, midfielder Pakduik struck a low shot past Italian goalkeeper Enrico Albertosi. The crowd gasped. 1-0, North Korea. What followed was a display of pure grit. The Italian attack pressed relentlessly, but the Koreans defended with discipline and bravery. Every tackle, every clearance was cheered by neutral English fans who began to rally behind the underdogs. When the final whistle blew, the score stood: North Korea 1, Italy 0. One of the greatest upsets in football history. The victory sent North Korea into the quarter-finals, the first Asian team ever to reach that stage. The players became instant heroes, even adopted by Middlesbrough locals who admired their humility and spirit. Their quarter-final against Portugal became another roller coaster. Incredibly, North Korea took a 3-0 lead within 25 minutes. The stadium buzzed with disbelief, but Portugal's star Eusebio turned the tide, scoring 4 goals as his team fought back to win 5-3. Even in defeat, the Koreans left the pitch to applause, a symbol of how far they had come. North Korea's 1966 run changed football's map. It showed that Asian teams could compete with and even beat the world's best. It inspired generations across the continent to dream bigger. Their victory over Italy wasn't just a shock result. It was proof that determination, unity, and belief could make the impossible real. In a World Cup full of giants, North Korea stood small but fearless, and their story still echoes as one of football's most unforgettable moments. In 1970, the World Cup arrived in Mexico, bright skies, thin air, and football at its most beautiful. Amid legends like Brazil and Italy, one team stole hearts with fearless play: Peru. They weren't expected to go far, yet their run to the quarter-finals became a golden chapter in their history. The tournament ran from May 31st to June 21st, 1970. Peru came in quietly, far from the list of favorites. The world talked about Pele's Brazil or Beckenbauer's Germany, not the red and white of Peru. But under coach Didi, himself a former Brazilian great, Peru played with joy, flair, and courage. Their opening match against Bulgaria showed that spirit. Down 2-0 at halftime, most thought the game was over, but Peru stormed back with energy and belief. Goals from Alberto Gallardo, Hector Chumpataz, and Teofilo Cubalis turned the score around 3-2. It was a comeback that announced Peru's arrival. They carried that form into the next games, beating Morocco 3-0 with confidence and precision. Even in their 3-0 loss to West Germany, they had already done enough to advance. Their passing, creativity, and attacking flair caught global attention. Cubalis, only 20 years old, became one of the tournament's breakout stars. In the quarter-final, Peru faced the mighty Brazil, the team that would go on to win it all. The match was open, thrilling, and full of respect between the two South American sides. Brazil led 2-0, but Peru fought back to make it 2-1. They kept pushing, but Brazil's power and depth proved too much. The final score read 4-2, yet Peru left the field with heads held high. That 1970s squad is remembered as Peru's golden generation, talented, fearless, and united. They showed the world that South America had more than just Brazil and Argentina. Their attacking football inspired fans and brought national pride to a country hungry for joy. Peru didn't win a trophy, but they won something greater: respect and lasting admiration. Their run in Mexico proved that underdogs, when brave enough to play their game, can shine even among legends. In 1974, football returned to West Germany and a new name rose among the giants. Poland, a team few saw as a serious threat, stunned the world with courage, precision, and a bronze medal finish that redefined their place in football history. The tournament ran from June 13th to July 7th, 1974. Poland entered with little reputation outside Eastern Europe. They had qualified by knocking out England, but many still doubted their strength. Once the games began, though, those doubts vanished fast. Led by coach Kazimierz Górski, Poland played fast, attacking football. Their key weapon was Jegorz Lato, a forward with blistering pace, and Kazimierz Dana, the elegant playmaker who directed every move. In the first round, Poland swept through their group, beating Argentina 3-2, Haiti 7-0, and Italy 2-1. The world began to take notice. This was no fluke. In the second group stage, things got tougher. Poland faced football's giants Brazil, Sweden, and West Germany. Against Sweden, Lato's strike earned a 1-0 win. They then shocked Brazil 1-0, with Lato again scoring the winner. Suddenly, Poland were one match away from the final. That final step was cruel. Rain poured down in Frankfurt as they faced hosts West Germany. The soaked pitch slowed their fast passing style, and despite their best efforts, they lost 1-0. It was heartbreak, but not defeat. Poland still had one more game to play, the third-place match against Brazil. In that game, they found redemption. Once again, Lato scored, sealing a 1-0 victory. Poland finished third ahead of Brazil, Italy, Argentina, and other football powers. Lato also won the Golden Boot with 7 goals, a symbol of how far Poland had come. Their run was more than just results. It was a breakthrough. For the first time, Poland stood as equals among football's elite. Their attacking play brought joy, their discipline earned respect, and their bronze medal became a source of national pride. pride. The 1974 World Cup proved that greatness doesn't belong only to the traditional powers. With belief, teamwork, and style, even an outsider can rewrite the story. For Poland, that summer in West Germany wasn't just a surprise, it was the birth of a football nation. In 1978, the World Cup was held in Argentina, a tournament full of noise, drama, and unexpected moments. But few were louder or more shocking than what happened in the city of Córdoba. On June 21, Austria defeated defending champions West Germany 3-2, a result so unbelievable it became known forever as the Miracle of Córdoba. Austria entered the tournament with modest hopes. They hadn't beaten Germany east or west in 47 years. West Germany, the reigning world champions, carried power and prestige. For Austria, victory seemed nearly impossible. Yet that day, belief replaced fear. The match began as most expected. West Germany pressed hard and took control early, but Austria refused to fold. Goalkeeper Friedel Concilia made crucial saves, and forward Hans Krankel led the charge with fearless energy. In the second half, Austria found their rhythm. Karl-Heinz Holzenbein accidentally scored an own goal that gave Austria a spark of hope. Moments later, Krankel made it 2-1 with a well-placed shot. Germany, stunned but stubborn, fought back to level the score 2-2. The tension grew unbearable. Then, with only minutes left, Krankel broke through again. Sprinting down the left, he fired the ball past Sepp Maier. 3-2, Austria. Silence fell for a heartbeat. Then the stadium exploded with joy. When the final whistle blew, Austrian players and fans wept with disbelief. After nearly half a century, they had beaten their powerful neighbors on the world's biggest stage. In Vienna, people poured into the streets to celebrate through the night. Radio announcers shouted, "We've beaten Germany! We've beaten Germany!" A phrase still remembered today. For Austria, it wasn't just a win. It was pride restored, history rewritten. For West Germany, it marked the end of their title defense. They were out, stunned by a team that refused to be intimidated. The Miracle of Córdoba stands as one of football's purest underdog tales, proof that even champions can fall when heart outshines history. Austria's victory became more than a scoreline. It became a symbol of belief, forever etched into football legend. In 1982, the World Cup in Spain delivered one of football's greatest shocks. On June 16, in Gijón, Algeria, playing their very first World Cup match, defeated mighty West Germany 2-1. It was a result that shook the sport and gave new meaning to the word underdog. West Germany came in as one of the tournament favorites, packed with stars like Karl-Heinz Rummenigge and Paul Breitner. Algeria, by contrast, were newcomers from Africa, largely unknown outside their continent. Many in the media laughed off their chances. One German player even joked that they would dedicate their seventh goal to his wife. But the Algerians had other plans. From the opening whistle, Algeria played with speed and purpose. They refused to sit back or be intimidated. In the 54th minute, Magyars struck first, poking the ball past goalkeeper Harald Schumacher. The crowd gasped. West Germany quickly equalized through Rummenigge, but Algeria didn't panic. Just minutes later, Lothar Belloumi finished off a flowing counterattack. 2-1, Algeria. The final moments were chaos. Germany pressed, Algeria defended with everything they had. When the whistle blew, disbelief turned into celebration. Players dropped to the ground in tears, fans danced in the stands. Algeria had beaten West Germany, one of football's superpowers, in their very first World Cup game. The victory sent shockwaves around the world. Newspapers called it the Miracle of Gijón. Commentators hailed Algeria's bravery and style. Yet, what followed turned their triumph bittersweet. Despite also beating Chile later, Algeria failed to advance after West Germany and Austria played a slow, cautious match ending 1-0, a result that conveniently sent both through. That match became known as the disgrace of Gijón, a dark moment that overshadowed Algeria's brilliance. Still, Algeria's victory stood on its own. It broke barriers for African football, proving that talent and heart could challenge anyone. It forced FIFA to change its rules so that all final group games would be played at the same time to protect fairness in competition. That day in 1982 wasn't just an upset, it was a turning point. Algeria's triumph reminded the world that football belongs to everyone, not just the giants. One match, 2 goals, and a legacy that still inspires every underdog who dares to dream. In 1986, the World Cup returned to Mexico, bright skies, roaring crowds, and stories of flair and courage. While the hosts inspired their fans with a strong run, it was Denmark, making their World Cup debut, who captured hearts with fearless, attacking football. The tournament ran from May 31 to June 29, 1986. Denmark arrived as newcomers, unknown to many outside Europe. They had never played in a World Cup before, yet their confidence was clear. Coached by Sepp Piontek, the Danish Dynamite team featured featured gifted players like Michael Laudrup, Preben Elkjær, and Jesper Olsen, a mix of youth, creativity, and energy. From the very first game, Denmark showed no fear. They beat Scotland 1-0, setting a tone of discipline and precision. Then came Uruguay, a football powerhouse with history and grit. What happened next stunned everyone. Denmark exploded with speed and skill, winning 6-1. Elkjær scored a hat-trick, Laudrup dazzled with dribbles, and suddenly, the world was watching this small northern nation play football like Brazil in red shirts. Their final group game was the real test. West Germany, one of the tournament favorites, most expected Denmark to crumble under pressure. Instead, they played with freedom and joy. Goals from Olsen and Elkjær sealed a 2-0 win. 3 games, 3 victories, 9 goals scored, only 1 conceded. The newcomers had outplayed giants. In the round of 16, they faced Spain. It started perfectly. Olsen scored an early penalty to give Denmark the lead. But football can be cruel. Spain's Emilio Butragueño struck back, scoring 4 goals as Denmark's defense finally cracked. The final score, 5-1, ended their run. Yet even in defeat, fans applauded. Denmark had arrived, not as a footnote, but as a force. Their 1986 campaign proved that debutants could light up the biggest stage. They didn't need decades of tradition, just courage, teamwork, and flair. Their football was fun, fast, and fearless, earning them global respect. That summer, Mexico cheered for their own team, but the world fell in love with Denmark's. Their run showed that sometimes the most exciting football comes from those with nothing to lose and everything to prove. In 1990, the World Cup returned to Italy, and from the heart of Africa came a roar that shook the world. Cameroon, a team few had predicted to go far, became the tournament's biggest story. Their fearless play, their joy, and one unforgettable dance made them legends. The opening match set the tone. On June 8, Cameroon faced the defending champions, Argentina, led by Diego Maradona. Most thought it would be a routine win for the South Americans, but football doesn't follow scripts. In the 67th minute, François Omambayek rose above Argentina's defense and powered a header past Neri Pompidou. Cameroon led 1-0 and held on. Even with 2 men sent off, they refused to break. The whistle blew and history was made. Cameroon had beaten the world champions. From that moment, they became everyone's second team. They played with heart and freedom, mixing power with flair. And then came the man who stole the show, Roger Milla. At 38 years old, he came off the bench with energy that belied his age. Every goal he scored was followed by a joyful dance at the corner flag, a moment that became one of the World Cup's most iconic celebrations. Cameroon beat Romania, then Colombia in the round of 16 thanks to Milla's 2 goals. They had become the first African team ever to reach the quarterfinals. The world watched in awe as a nation once seen as outsiders captured global respect. In the quarterfinal, they faced England. Cameroon trailed early but turned the match around with 2 quick goals, one a penalty from Emmanuel Kondi, another a clever finish from Eugene Ekeke. They led 2-1 and were minutes away from a historic semi-final. But England's Gary Lineker scored twice from penalties, one in extra time, ending Cameroon's dream 3-2. Even in defeat, the world stood and applauded. Cameroon had changed how people viewed African football forever. They showed that teams from the continent could not only compete but entertain, inspire, and nearly conquer. Their 1990 run wasn't just about results. It was about pride, joy, and belief. Roger Milla's dance, Omambayek's header, and that fearless spirit left a mark no trophy could replace. Cameroon didn't just play football, they made the world listen to Africa's roar. In 1994, the World Cup came to the United States, big crowds, bright colors, and one of the most surprising stories in tournament history. That story belonged to Bulgaria, a team no one expected to see among the world's best. Yet by the end of that summer, they had reached the semifinals and earned global respect. Before the tournament began, few had Bulgaria on their list of favorites. They had never won a World Cup match before 1994. But this team, led by the fierce and gifted Hristo Stoichkov, carried quiet belief. Stoichkov was their star, quick, confident, and deadly in front of goal. Around him, players like Jordan Lechkov and Krasimir Balakov gave the team creativity and balance. The group stage began with a stumble. Bulgaria lost 3-0 to Nigeria, and critics wrote them off. Then came a turning point. Against Argentina, still strong even without Diego Maradona, Bulgaria played with courage. Stoichkov struck from distance, and Nasko Surikov added another late goal. A 2-0 win shocked the world and lifted Bulgaria into the knockout rounds. In the round of 16, they faced Mexico. It was a tense, hot afternoon, ending 1-1 after extra time. The match went to penalties and Bulgaria held their nerve. Stoichkov scored again. Goalkeeper Borislav Mihailov made key saves. Bulgaria advanced, something no one back home had ever seen. The quarterfinal brought their greatest moment. They faced defending champions Germany, a powerhouse filled with legends. Germany took the lead through Lothar Matthäus's penalty, but Bulgaria refused to bow. In the 75th minute, Stoichkov curled a perfect free kick into the top corner. Minutes later, Lechkov dove move forward to head in the winner. Bulgaria 2, Germany 1. The world gasped. The underdogs had taken down the giants. Their dream ended in the semi-final against Italy. Roberto Baggio's brilliance ended Bulgaria's run with a 2-1 scoreline, but by then, they had already made history. Stoichkov finished as the tournament's joint top scorer with 6 goals, a mark of his brilliance and Bulgaria's fearless style. That summer, Bulgaria became a symbol of belief. They weren't supposed to be there, but they showed skill, unity, and heart. Their run inspired a new generation, proof that football greatness isn't limited to the traditional powers. In 1994, under the blazing American sun, Bulgaria didn't just win matches. They won respect, and their story remains one of the World Cup's finest surprises. In 1998, the World Cup arrived in France, a tournament filled with stars, drama, and one remarkable debut. Croatia, a nation only 7 years old, stepped onto football's biggest stage for the very first time. By the end, they had stunned the world and claimed third place, a story that still inspires. No one expected much from Croatia before the tournament began. They were newcomers, playing in their first World Cup since becoming independent in 1991. But they carried something powerful: hunger, pride, and a golden generation of talent. Leading them was striker Suker, whose calm finishing would soon light up the tournament. Croatia's group stage went smoothly. They beat Jamaica 3-1 and Japan 1-0, showing sharpness and control. Even in their 1-0 loss to Argentina, their confidence never wavered. When the knockout rounds began, they looked fearless. In the round of 16, they faced Romania. It was tight and tense until Suker calmly converted a penalty to seal a 1-0 win. Croatia were through to the quarter-finals, and that's where their legend began. Their next opponent was Germany, 3-time world champions and tournament favorites. The stage was massive, but Croatia didn't blink. Early on, Robert Jarni fired home from distance. Then, after Germany went down to 10 men, Croatia attacked with purpose. Goran Vlahovic doubled the lead, and Suker finished it off. Final score: Croatia 3, Germany 0. The world was in shock. Croatia had crushed a football giant. In the semi-final, they faced hosts France. Suker put Croatia ahead early in the second half, and for a moment, the impossible seemed close. But Lilian Thuram scored twice, and Croatia's dream of the final slipped away 2-1. Still, they weren't done. In the third-place match, they met the Netherlands. Suker struck again, scoring his 6th goal of the tournament. Croatia won 2-1 and secured the bronze medal. Suker's 6 goals earned him the Golden Boot, a perfect symbol of Croatia's rise. For a team that didn't even exist a decade earlier, their success was extraordinary. They had played with unity, discipline, and heart. Croatia's 1998 run wasn't just a football story, it was a story of identity, pride, and hope. They showed the world that new nations could dream big and stand tall. From independence to a World Cup medal in 7 years, Croatia proved that passion could build history faster than anyone imagined. In 2002, the World Cup made history, hosted for the first time in Asia, shared by South Korea and Japan. It was a tournament full of shocks, emotion, and new heroes. Among them stood Turkey, a team few expected to reach the final weekend, yet they left with bronze and global admiration. Before the tournament, Turkey weren't on anyone's short list of contenders. Ranked outside the world's top tier, they hadn't appeared in a World Cup since 1954. But coach Şenol Güneş had built a disciplined, spirited team. Players like Hakan Şükür, Hasan Esayas, and goalkeeper Rüştü Rekber formed the core of a side that mixed strength with skill. Turkey's campaign began in Group C with a tough 2-1 loss to Brazil. It was close. Turkey led for much of the match before Rivaldo and Ronaldo turned it around late. That performance, though, showed they could compete with the best. They then drew 1-1 with Costa Rica and beat China 3-0 to secure a spot in the knockout rounds. In the round of 16, Turkey faced co-host Japan, a team lifted by massive home support. The match was tight and physical, but Ümit Davula's goal sealed a 1-0 victory. The Turkish players celebrated calmly. They knew the real tests were still ahead. Next came Senegal in the quarter-finals. Senegal, like Turkey, were underdog heroes, having beaten France earlier in the tournament. Both sides pushed hard, but neither could find a breakthrough in 90 minutes. In extra time, substitute Ilan Mansız became the hero, scoring a golden goal to win 1-0. Turkey had reached the semi-finals, a stunning achievement. Then came Brazil again. The champions in waiting, powered by Ronaldo's brilliance, were too strong this time. A single goal from Ronaldo ended Turkey's dream of the final, but their fight and spirit won the world's respect. In the third-place match, Turkey met South Korea, the co-hosts and surprise semi-finalists. The atmosphere was electric, friendly yet fierce. Hakan Şükür scored just 11 seconds into the game, setting a World Cup record for the fastest goal ever. Turkey went on to win 3-2, claiming third place, their best result in history. The 2002 Turkish team showed what belief, teamwork, and resilience could achieve. They didn't rely on stars or hype, they relied on trust and heart. From their narrow loss to Brazil Brazil to their record-setting bronze, Turkey's journey proved that on the world stage, determination can make even outsiders unforgettable. In 2006, the World Cup returned to Germany, a stage filled with tradition, talent, and surprises. Among the stories that stood out was Portugal's impressive rise. They weren't seen as part of football's inner circle, but that summer, they played with grit and flair, reaching their first World Cup semi-final in 40 years. Portugal entered the tournament with promise but little expectation. They had stars like Luis Figo, Cristiano Ronaldo, Deco, and goalkeeper Ricardo, yet many doubted their ability to go far. Their history in the World Cup was thin, just one major run, back in 1966. But under coach Luis Felipe Scolari, the team was organized, confident, and fiercely united. In the group stage, Portugal started strong. They beat Angola 1-0, Iran 2-0, and then Mexico 2-1, finishing top of their group with 3 wins out of 3. It was the kind of start that built belief. Their mix of veteran experience and young energy made them dangerous. In the round of 16, they met the Netherlands in one of the most physical World Cup games ever, later called the Battle of Nuremberg. For red cards, 16 yellows, and countless fouls filled the night. Portugal held their nerve and won 1-0 thanks to a goal from Maniche. They moved on battered but unbroken. Next came England in the quarter-final. A tense, goalless draw led to penalties. This was where heroes are made. Goalkeeper Ricardo saved 3 English spot kicks without wearing gloves, and Portugal advanced. The celebrations showed their togetherness. They weren't just playing football, they were playing for pride, for respect, for recognition. In the semi-final, they faced France. Zinedine Zidane's penalty in the first half decided the match, ending Portugal's dream of a final. Yet the loss couldn't erase what they had achieved. They had outlasted giants, silenced critics, and inspired a new generation of Portuguese players. For Portugal, 2006 was more than a tournament, it was a turning point. They proved they could compete at the highest level, laying the foundation for future glory. A decade later, many of these lessons helped them win Euro 2016. Their 2006 run reminded the world that football's magic isn't just in trophies. It's in the courage to defy limits, the belief to challenge history, and the spirit to rise when no one expects it. In 2010, the World Cup made history, the first ever held on African soil. The air in South Africa buzzed with pride, music, and vuvuzelas. For one team, Ghana, it became more than a tournament. It was a mission to carry a continent's hopes. Ghana arrived with quiet confidence. They weren't among the favorites, but they had spirit, youth, and heart. Led by Asamoah Gyan, Andre Ayew, and Kevin Prince Boateng, the Black Stars showed from the start that they belonged. In the group stage, Ghana beat Serbia 1-0 with a late penalty from Gyan. They drew 1-1 with Australia and narrowly lost to Germany 1-0. That was enough to advance, the only African team to reach the knockout rounds that year. Fans across Africa began to rally behind them. Ghana weren't just playing for themselves anymore, they were playing for a continent. In the round of 16, they faced the United States, a rematch of their 2006 group encounter. Boateng opened the scoring early, and though the US equalized through Landon Donovan's penalty, Ghana refused to fade. In extra time, Gyan chested down a long ball and smashed it past Tim Howard. The crowd erupted. Ghana won 2-1 and became only the 3rd African team ever to reach a World Cup quarter-final. Then came the night of July 2nd in Johannesburg, Ghana versus Uruguay, a game that would break hearts and live in memory forever. The match was level at 1-1 deep into extra time when Ghana launched a desperate attack. A goal-bound header was swatted away on the line by Uruguay's Luis Suarez. A clear handball, red card, penalty. This was it, one kick from history. Gyan stepped up, with all of Africa holding its breath. His shot thundered off the crossbar. The whistle blew for full time. In the penalty shootout that followed, Uruguay triumphed 4-2. Ghana's dream had ended inches away from a semi-final, the closest any African team had ever come. Even in heartbreak, Ghana's courage lit up the world. They played with joy, unity, and defiance, proving African teams could match anyone on the planet. Gyan's tears, Suarez's infamous handball, and the crowd's roar became symbols of passion and pain, the fine line between glory and grief in football. Ghana's 2010 run didn't end with a trophy, but it changed perceptions forever. They reminded everyone that underdogs can inspire nations, and sometimes the most powerful victories are emotional, not just on the scoreboard. In 2014, the World Cup returned to Brazil, a home of flair, samba, and football dreams. But the tournament's most stunning story didn't come from a powerhouse. It came from Costa Rica, a small Central American nation that turned the group of death into the group of dreams. Before the first whistle, most experts gave Costa Rica no chance. Their group was brutal: Uruguay, Italy, and England, all former world champions. Costa Rica entered ranked 28th in the world, seen as the team everyone else would beat. But from the opening match, they tore that script apart. Their journey party began against Uruguay, the 2010 semifinalists. Down 1-0 at halftime, Costa Rica came out fearless. Joel Campbell equalized with a rocket. Then Oscar Duarte headed in another, and Marcos Urania sealed a stunning 3-1 win. The world blinked. Costa Rica had just beaten a giant. Next came Italy, known for discipline and defense. But Costa Rica were sharper, hungrier, and unafraid. Brian Ruiz's header just before halftime crossed the line by inches. Goal line technology confirmed it. They held firm to win 1-0 and, incredibly, secured a spot in the knockout stage with the game to spare. Their final group match was against England, another football heavyweight. Costa Rica held them to a 0-0 draw and finished top of the group unbeaten, untouchable, and undeniable. They had survived the group of death and made it look easy. In the round of 16, they faced Greece. After leading most of the match, Greece equalized late, forcing extra time and then penalties. Costa Rica's goalkeeper Keylor Navas became a hero, saving the decisive spot kick. The dream lived on. They were into the quarter-finals. Their next opponent was the Netherlands, a global powerhouse. Costa Rica defended with courage, Navas making save after save. The match ended 0-0 after extra time, but in the penalty shootout, Dutch keeper Tim Krul, subbed in just for the shootout, made 2 saves to end Costa Rica's magical run, 4-3 on penalties. Even in defeat, Costa Rica's story shone bright. They hadn't just advanced, they had inspired. A nation of 5 million had toppled 3 giants, proven that discipline and belief could beat history and reputation. Costa Rica's 2014 campaign was pure World Cup magic, a reminder that heart can outshine hype. From Campbell's roar to Navas's saves, they became symbols of what's possible when a team plays without fear. In 2018, the World Cup in Russia delivered one of football's most emotional journeys, the rise of Croatia from dark horse to finalist. A nation of barely 4 million people reached the biggest match in world football, proving that heart and belief can carry even the smallest countries to greatness. Croatia entered the tournament ranked 20th in the world. They had talent: Luka Modric, Ivan Rakitic, Mario Mandzukic, but few saw them as title contenders. They were organized, experienced, and quietly confident. What followed would turn them into national heroes. Their campaign began in Group D alongside Argentina, Iceland, and Nigeria, a tough draw. But Croatia played with precision and control. They beat Nigeria 2-0 in their opener, then shocked the world by dismantling Argentina 3-0. Modric's curling strike from distance sealed that win and sent a message: Croatia weren't here just to participate. They finished the group stage with another victory, 2-1 over Iceland, perfect with 3 wins out of 3. The knockout stage tested their resolve. In the round of 16 against Denmark, the match ended 1-1 after just 4 minutes of chaos and goals at both ends. The rest was nerve and will. In the shootout, goalkeeper Daniel Subasic saved 3 penalties. Croatia advanced. Next came Russia, the hosts riding a wave of emotion. Another tight battle, another shootout. After a 2-2 draw, Croatia again held their nerve. Modric led by example, calm under pressure, while Subasic saved the day once more. They were through to the semi-finals, only the second in their history. Then came England. Early on, Croatia trailed 1-0 after Kieran Trippier's free kick. Many thought the dream was fading, but Croatia's response showed their spirit. Ivan Perisic equalized, and in extra time, Mandzukic struck the winner. Croatia 2, England 1. A small Balkan nation was heading to the World Cup final. The final against France was thrilling but cruel. Croatia fought bravely, but defensive errors and French precision decided it, 4-2. Despite defeat, the world applauded. Modric won the Golden Ball as the tournament's best player, his calm leadership defining Croatia's story. Their 2018 run became more than sport, it was national pride, resilience, and proof that greatness isn't about size or history. From a country that gained independence just 27 years earlier, Croatia showed that dreams can carry you to the world's biggest stage. They didn't lift the trophy, but they lifted hearts and forever changed what small nations believe is possible. In 2022, under the bright lights of Qatar, the World Cup gave the world something it had never seen before: an African and Arab nation reaching the semifinals. Morocco's run wasn't just a surprise, it was history. The United Continents inspired millions and showed that football's magic truly has no borders. Before the tournament, few predicted Morocco to go far. Ranked outside the global top 20, they entered a group with Belgium, Croatia, and Canada, a group most experts thought impossible to escape. But Morocco's mix of passion, tactical discipline, and fearless energy changed everything. Their campaign began with a hard-fought 0-0 draw against 2018 finalists Croatia. It showed their organization and calm. Then came Belgium, the world's second-ranked team. Morocco played with belief, pressing high and defending as one. Abdelhamid Sabiri's clever free kick broke the deadlock, and Zakaria Obuklal's late strike sealed a stunning 2-0 win. Morocco had announced themselves to the world. They topped their group after beating Canada 2-1. The celebration in Doha spilled into streets across Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. Flags waved, drums echoed, and a new football story was being written. In the round of 16, they faced Spain, a former champion known for control and precision. Morocco defended bravely for 120 minutes, refusing to yield. Then came penalties. Achraf Hakimi, born in Madrid, stepped up for the final kick. A cheeky Panenka down the middle. Goal. Morocco 3-0 Spain on penalties. The impossible dream was alive. The quarter-final brought Portugal and Cristiano Ronaldo. Again, Morocco stood tall. Youssef En-Nesyri's soaring header made it 1-0. The defense, led by captain Romain Sess and goalkeeper Yassine Bounou, held firm under wave after wave of pressure. When the final whistle blew, Morocco had done it. They were the first African and Arab nation ever to reach a World Cup semi-final. Their journey ended against France, the defending champions. Morocco fought hard but lost 2-0. Even then, they walked off the field with heads held high. A narrow defeat to Croatia in the third-place match couldn't dim what they had achieved. The 2022 World Cup also became known for its unpredictability, 15 underdog wins, the most in tournament history, but none shone brighter than Morocco's. Their togetherness, belief, and spirit turned them into global favorites. Coach Walid Regragui called them the team of the people, and fans across continents agreed. Morocco's run was more than football, it was cultural, emotional, historic. They broke barriers and carried Africa, the Arab world, and millions of dreamers on their shoulders. In Qatar, Morocco reminded the world why the World Cup matters, because every 4 years, someone dares to believe, and sometimes, the underdog writes history. From Uruguay's triumph in 1930 to Morocco's miracle in 2022, the World Cup has always belonged to dreamers. Each underdog, from Cameroon's roar to Croatia's rise, proved that heart and belief can outshine history and rank. These stories remind us why football captivates the world. It's never just about the strongest or richest, but about courage, unity, and hope. Every upset, every breakthrough, writes a new chapter in the game's legacy. The World Cup's greatest gift is its unpredictability, the promise that any nation, on any day, can make the world believe in miracles again. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through the greatest World Cup underdog stories, you'll love what's coming next. Don't forget to press that subscribe button, like the video, and join our community of football fans who live for passion, surprises, and history in the beautiful game.